What up, y'all? Thanks for always watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button. A lot of y'all leave comments, which are dope, and I appreciate that. Just go back, double back, hit that like and subscribe so the algorithms can, send this out to everybody else that's into what we into. Peace. What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of What Words Are Worth. And today I got a friend on here that's been, man, I've known him for, I can't even count how many years. Super talented, just an extraordinary person, very versatile with writing the lyrics. You never really know what you're going to get from him because he's so versatile with it. He might be writing a song for himself. He might be writing it for somebody else. He might be writing it for TV. He might be writing it for your favorite movie, your favorite producer. He's able to put songs together that if you want something, you might be in the club and you bop into it, and then he might put something together that's just some street type of anthem. I mean, the versatility of him and being able to write and pen things, he's probably your favorite artist. So welcome to the stage today. The let me say creative, fearless. That's the word I want to say. Fearless, Coolhand Trew. Yeah, man. What's up, brother?
What up? What up? What's going on? I appreciate that. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I was I know you, but no matter if I know people, I still read their bios and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I read the bio and I was like, had the word versatility, versatile, and then I had to think of like me knowing you and from what we've done since I've known you.
mhm.
And I would say like you're one of the people that helped me break out of maybe the box that I may have wanted to be in sometimes, right? Like I'm known for underground rapping
Right.
and stuff like that. But then I'll get a track from you and you like, yo, you might want to hop on this joint. And I'm like, yo, this ain't really in my wheelhouse of what I'm used to, but let me hop on it. Then the record turned out fire. So I'm like, all right, True might got something here with this. Like, so maybe we start there. Like, how did you have like come up with this whole like you're fearless, man? Like you just do everything.
That's
Cause you know,
hilarious.
True. I'm sure it wasn't like that when you first started. You know what I'm saying?
And that's hilarious too, because I actually credit you for helping me bring out the box as well too. So that is hilarious. The whole fearless thing, man, I guess, it started off like in school, I was the drum major, so I was the leader of the band, you know? So that's something that kind of, helps with that. It's like if you're the leader, like, at an
Mm,
early age, it goes more than just music. You got to make sure the whole group is okay. It's a lot of instincts that come with that as well, too, you know? And as I think about fearless, and I don't think I've ever told you this story, and we talking about when we first met. Um, I don't remember the exact day, but I can tell you around the exact time period. Because when we
mm,
first met, the whole DC sniper thing was going on.
yeah.
So I actually, when I met you in Jersey, I was so honored that you and Pumpkinhead, as a matter of fact, rest in peace,
Yeah,
asked me
rest
to
in peace.
come
Yeah.
open for y'all. So I drove back to Virginia, and during that time, when you had to pump gas, you had to duck because nobody knew exactly where the sniper was coming from.
Right.
So I left Jersey to go back home to probably work for like a day or two. And then I remember like driving back and thinking again, like, all right, we got to stay low. We got to pump the gas because we got to get back to Jersey because we got to perform for Words and Pumpkinhead. So, it's just one of
Right.
those things, man, which is over time. That's where it came from.
Yeah, and then hearing this thing about like you being the drum major and
Mhm.
having to be a leader, I can attest to that because now I'm up here like, okay, so now I see some of the derivative and kind of some of where this leadership comes in to play. About like you're like one of those people that reach out, and next thing you know, if I get a call or a text from you, it's about, hey, we're having this Zoom. I got my guy that writes scripts here. I got my guy that's a director here. I got somebody that produces here. I got somebody that makes clothes here. And you have us all together on one Zoom or one chat, and you get us all together. Is that part of that, like the way you came up from the being a drum major?
Yeah, like my lady as well too. She calls me the Great Connector. And she's always like,
Yes,
something's going on. I know you didn't connect to everybody to it. And it's just one of those
that's true.
natural things, like even when we have like family events stuff, it's just something that's always been with me, man. Like I don't like to be at an event or something or see somebody down or not having a good time. It's like if I'm there, like let's all have a good time. Why we're
Right.
alive. Thank God I'm alive. So you know what? We're gonna smile, we're gonna have a good time, we're gonna party.
Yeah.
We're gonna chop it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
So what's the origin of the name, right?
Yeah.
So you was telling me earlier because I was asking like before we came on, because I've known you for True, and then you got
Yeah.
Coolhand Trew. So what's the origin of the name?
The origin of the name comes from like when True, everybody still calls me True. And honestly, that's what I prefer as well too. But man,
Mm,
like we're in the age now, like I say in the age, that shows how old I am. When you're Googling True, it's like a million type of things come up. And
right.
when I was younger, my dad's nickname was Luke. So they used to call me Little Luke, Cool Hand Luke. So I was like, all right, so you know what? True. Let's just make it Cool and True. And let's make it one word. And then, it makes the Googles a lot easier as well too.
And then I introduced you about your writing style. And one of the other things about your writing style is that you have different flows you'll try. Like that goes into that fearless bag too. Different flows you try. Not only different flows and the cadences, but you're also like tones.
Mhm.
You've been. I just always when you would send me stuff, I'd be like, it's never sounding the same. A lot of songs
Mhm.
that you send don't sound the same. So it's
Right.
like your writing style. Is it just something that's instinctual in you to test yourself? Or is it something that you just go, okay, this beat here, I'm trying to show other people how well I write?
I think what it comes from is actually several different factors, right? I think like growing up, my parents listened to gospel, soul
Okay.
music, but at the same time too, I'd be listening to Wham, like all types of stuff, as long
Okay.
as it was rhythmic. And something I recently realized about myself going back to being a drum major, my main instrument was like the trumpet and baritone horn. And I realized when I'm writing songs and everything, I'm almost writing as if I'm a trumpet or baritone horn on the songs as well too. That's kind of like my voice, how I hear things musically. And another part of that as well, I was always big into poetry. And my man, rest in peace, Clef Dollars, he was the one that kind of really showed me, like, yo, I love your poetry. I see what you're doing. Let's craft it a little more and show you kind of like how to ride the beat a little bit better. So, from all of those instances together, it's just how the writing style was kind of created.
Yeah,
A
and
lot of different.
I've been around you writing as of recent, and I've been able to like watch you do the process because we've always kind of like emailed past stuff here and there,
Right,
but I've
right.
seen you like nodding your head now, vibing and coming up with melodies on the spot.
Hmm.
And also what you mentioned, like Wham and stuff, also being around you, hanging out, you put me onto a whole bunch of different genres of artists that are out that I never heard of and
Yeah,
styles that when I was at your house, I was like, nah, I never heard
right.
this, but I like this. And I guess that kind of lends to you having this open ear of listening to different types of music, that
Hmm.
diversity from the upbringing.
Absolutely. Yeah. All of that definitely comes from that, just listening to all the different types. And also, too, just being in there, some of my different friend groups. Like I have
Right,
friends where, it was just like, oh, super hip hop, it was like, they were like, woo, like, yo, we're going to get together and do this. And then I also have friends that they were like the R&B group. I couldn't sing or
right.
nothing. I was just like the dude in the background that would just hang out with them, but I would also write for them as well, too. It's just always that love for music.
Yeah, I found it to be like one of the things teaching and just talking to kids. Um, a lot of times, a lot of the kids sometimes, I don't want to say all the kids, but there's always a group of faction of kids, such as ourselves as well. When you're coming up, depending on where you grew up at, that's the music you're listening to only. So I'll
Hmm.
have some kids that they strictly, rap. I'll be like, listen, y'all gotta listen to everything. Like,
Yeah.
country, everything. And then there's some students or some kids that do listen to everything because you got the Pandora that throws all these different types of styles at you. But
Right.
I really think it's very important because it took me some time growing up in New York to get out and see the world and actually go, oh, okay, they got this music here, and kind of embrace other people's music. So like you mentioned, and like hanging out with other groups. Now I kind of see it. That's what's been dope talking now, listening to you, because now I'm getting a little more in depth about. All right, now I know how you are, who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like all of that definitely really helps. And like I said, I credit you for maybe, not even for maybe, but for having me being able to show that publicly. Because a lot of times you have different ears and things and you don't have enough courage. It's funny, that's why you say fearless. Sometimes you don't have enough courage to do that. But you were one of the first people. I'm like, oh, words, you listen to that? You listen to that? Words from the Lyricist Lounge? You know, and I would always laugh. And I was like, yo, that's so dope that Words is listening to everything and he's not afraid to mention that, because I was part of the kind of like that era too. It was just like either it was like super hip hop, or it was like how they say like backpack, or like there was no in between. There was no in between. You had to be one or the other. I remember at one point when we were talking to like different labels and stuff, what they wanted me to do, like with the different music I had, they were like, yo, let's just kind of like let's call you like the substitute, since Kanye is the graduate and you're gonna sound like this and look like this. Now I remember thinking like, nah, no, I don't want that's not it. Yeah, like let's make you, the substitute. That's gonna be your thing. And at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe some of this major label stuff is not for me. If y'all passing ideas like this, just trying to kind of box me in,
Man, so let's get to the writing aspect of it, man. So paper, pen, computer, phone, writing in your head. What's your preference of jotting these ideas down?
Yeah, now it's definitely phone. At different points in my life, I can hear a certain song, be like, oh, okay, that was all paper right there. But now, definitely the phone makes it a lot easier. I've written like one or two in my head. I remember when I was dating my now wife, I was driving her place, and I had to turn like a track in. And so as I'm driving, I'm writing the track in my head, probably like super careless and unfocused or whatever. But I'm writing the song, But I remember at that time, I don't know if you remember now when Jay-Z came out, was like, yo, I'm not writing anything. And everybody was like, yo, I'm not writing no more anything. That made for some horrible studio sessions because a lot of people just started putting everything up,
Yeah, everybody started doing that because he was at the upper echelon of it. So you felt like if I can't do that, then I'm not as great as him. And then that's how you get Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, he followed that, and he went in the studio and rapped all his rhymes out. There was a couple artists that admit to hearing him say that made them go that route. I knew people that did that though. My boy A Butter from Natural Elements did that. This artist named Time that used to be on signed to Trackmasters. So it was actually occurring. Yeah. I just wasn't able to, like, I wasn't exercised enough to do that.
Yeah, see, same here. Like I said, I could only do it like once or twice. But I remember even going to the studio, and that made for some long studio sessions. If cats were hearing that and they were just like, I'm not writing it no more. I'm like, yo, you killing the studio budget, fam. Like, just write it down. Just put it down, Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely. I've seen that process. And when I saw A Butter doing it, he had to keep repeating. And I was like, yeah, this is a serious process right there. I got the line. Let me think of the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the same way for me. So for me now, it's definitely, in my phone is where all the ideas go to. Especially now too, man, with like Chat GPT, with all of that as well. Chat GPT isn't writing any lyrics for me. Let me just put that out there now, but it's helping me schedule my time and have that time in my phone where I'm writing and scheduling everything as well. So whether it's scripts, book ideas, or, anything with the lyrics.
And then when you're crafting these songs, what's the most important thing for you? Or is there a preference with this as far as your chorus or verse first?
Definitely chorus first. And also I am at the point now, I will do my rhythms first as well too. Not even words anymore first. I'll come up with the rhythm, kind of like I said, like as a trumpet or a baritone. And if I can go through my track and hum it through or create a rhythm, and I can't remember that rhythm the next time around, it's not good enough. The rhythm has to be catchy enough for me to be like, oh, okay, I can remember that again and again. Then I'll go through and put the words to it.
And then I know that some people feel to me, I think the hook is the most important thing for the most part, right? Like if you're doing a song with a hook, because nowadays some people don't even do a hook. Not every song has a hook. But
Right.
I think it's definitely one of those things. Um, I think also it's a vibe, right? Because we grew up kind of like freestyling when you first hear the
Yeah.
beat.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You
Trying to
know,
freestyle, or anything like that too, because that was a definitely a part of, my past as well too. Freestyling, battling and everything as well, and I got so into that. But then it was just like, okay, I realized I was like, if I'm gonna do this more often, I'll probably make more money as a songwriter than just freestyling and battling. So
and
yeah,
then when
it's
you
always like that for me.
And then when you're doing the choruses, so a lot of stuff I'm asking you also because I've been around you, watching you, been
Mhm,
able to watch you write currently. The other thing, as far as when you're coming up with the melody for a chorus or the
mhm,
idea for a chorus, how much
mhm.
of that is, I guess, within you to say, okay, this is gonna be the melody and sung like this, but I'm not gonna sing it. Probably, I may need somebody to sing it. Like you're able
Yeah,
to kind of separate
absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of the things I always say. I will be tougher on myself than anybody else will ever be. So as I'm singing out melodies and everything, and I'll hear it, I'll be like, "No, I gotta shout out to my dude Sam Heavens. He sings a lot of my hooks for me," and I'll be like, "All right, go." But a lot of my people sometimes they're like, "Yo, you're a little bit too tough on yourself," because you have a lot of musicians out here now that aren't the best singers. It's just so rhythmically attractive, I guess I should say. That's just like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
still sing along, but I'm still part of the camp. I'm like, man, I grew up like late 80s, early 90s, man. Whenever I hear something, if I don't sound like Jodeci on it or something, I don't want to do it. I was like, yo, let me call somebody else up. But I get all methods to it though.
Yeah, because today it's more so I'm hearing like a lot of the, people would be like, well, it's a vibe rather than
Hmm.
you sounding
Yeah.
in key. It doesn't,
Hmm.
all of that kind of goes out the window. It's a, if you sound good with it, people might say, man, you're not singing in key or nothing like that. But it's not about if you sound in key, do you sound good? Do we feel the music? So I've
And that
learned
goes,
that's
yeah.
mhm.
And I was gonna say that goes back to me being in the band. If I hear something that's off key or anything, I'm like, I'm not touching this. It's not, like I'm
Yeah.
sounding great. I'm wilding with this. Let me call my man up. So yeah.
So how long does it take for you to write the verse, put the song together?
Um, because of sync, and I do so much sync now, I get a lot of deadlines. So I'm accustomed now to writing a song at least. I try to have it done within 2 to 3 hours
Mm,
because a lot of times people will contact you and be like, "Hey, we need a song by Thursday," and it'll be
right.
Tuesday night. Like, can you put it together? So I'm like, all right, let me go ahead, put it together, and do that. So normally, if I'm working on something sync wise, it'd be like that as well too. But it's one of those things for me. Like, I don't want it to just sound like, "Hey, I just wrote this song for this TV show and I don't care." It still has to have
Right.
elements that are really cool and vibe for me as well too. So it's still though, like I'd say, like maybe those 2 to 3 hours for me.
So you're able to kind of distinguish, I guess, your time. I guess understanding, all right, this is due in this hour, 2 hours,
Hmm.
versus I have my own particular album and songs. I
Hmm.
might take a little more time to jazz it up. Is that how you kind of approach it too?
Absolutely, depending on the time point or whatever. But there are some times too if they'll ask for a song and I'm just like, you know what, I could submit it, but this ain't gonna be what it needs to be. Then I won't. I don't want to play myself. And one of the things I always tell my peoples as well too, I don't want it to be a point where we're submitting so much stuff to sync. If it doesn't sound like us, then we're like a sync warehouse. I don't want to be that as well too, because I got into music because of the feeling, not for it to feel like a factory. So it's a little bit of
Yeah, and
different elements to it.
yeah, I think I always when I have this discussion, I always feel it's a real like I tell people it's like an internal tug of war with this because
Mhm.
the the timing and the deadlines come in play based off of the money aspect of it too. And
Right.
then, then you're fighting quality over quantity. It's so many layers to it, depending on where you are with what you're doing. And I think a lot of that also depends on if you have the services to record at home or to record away from home. Some of that comes into play. So what about you with putting it together? You prefer writing in the studio or at home?
Definitely at home. I love the fact of being able to be with my family and then go downstairs when everybody is asleep and just kind of being able to just work, write, create, and I'm one of those people too. Sometimes I'm up to like 2, 3 in the morning, take a little bit of a nap, get up, put my daughter on the bus and go back to work. I'm super guilty of like not getting enough sleep because I like to create and I love creating at home. And I still occasionally go to the studio. I love the whole studio vibe, which it seems like I don't get a lot of that anymore. Because, like you said, just being able to team up and just work on a song together is always super dope. I've always loved that about a studio. But for me right now, it's definitely being able to create at home.
What about if you have to go out and write? Is it like I can finish it here, or is it more like I'll be back?
I think, I can go out and do it as well too. But man, sometimes it's nothing like the comfort of your own home or your own space, So even if I'm not writing at home, I try to make a space like mine. I'm big into candles, good scents and everything as well too. Or, just like, I know everybody has different creative vibes, but that's like my thing. If something smells good, do I have my bottle of Jameson? Do I got maybe my little bottle of tequila,
Yeah. So yeah, that's my next question right there. You went into it. So your atmosphere with creating, man. I mean, we was hanging out. Was it Kwaku? Did I say it right?
Yeah, Kwaku. Yeah.
Kwaku brought through. He had that wine. He had that nice wine. Brothers was just chilling, hanging out, man. And yeah, man. So it was definitely a vibe. The beats are just playing. So what is it as far as time wise? Is it daytime, nighttime, or is it anytime you get
it? As a dad now, it seems like whenever I can get some time,
Right.
But my preferred is definitely nighttime when the squad is here hanging out, like you saw, like sometimes I'll even tell my dude Quaker, like, if you want to come over and just like paint, we'll throw some music on,
Right.
you paint, maybe Todd is making beats or something, or like everybody's in their own creative zone, or like what I'll do, depending on the vibe of the project. Sometimes I'll throw on like Miami Vice or Heat or Scarface or something, and then but like while it's on, we'll put the music on the volume on mute. So we just have the images, and then we'll start talking about like, yo, you remember when this came out? And then the conversations sometimes are what leads to the great songs and the energy of that,
Yeah, I've had a friend that engineered, and he said one day Jay-Z walked into the lounge and he turned the TV off, and Jay-Z said, "Yo, turn that back on." He told him to turn it. He said, "Yo, you might see something on there to get that next bar." I also remember hanging around Camp Low, and I think it was Geechee. Oh, maybe another one. And first time hanging around them, and I was trying to figure out how he write, and he just pull out a magazine.
Yeah.
And just look through the magazine and picking brands and putting them into a rhyme. So so like depending on how you set it up in the atmosphere, all that can come into play. And then once you got the atmosphere going, are you writing to the beat or do you have some rhymes prepared?
Man, I write to the beat. I used to have rhymes I prepared and it just didn't feel right. It was just like, it's like you're cooking. You're cooking, but it's just like, the ingredients just aren't, they sitting on top. They're not, they're not weaved in correctly. So that's just for me, like I used to be the dude that's like, I'm writing a notebook. If I got to pop up, I'm gonna read what's on here. Now it's like, nah, I gotta listen to it, man. I got to home cook it for you,
Yeah, what was that transition like coming up from, when we were doing it and like the ciphers and being outside battling and everything like that, and you being part of that cloth of it, what was that transition like in your mind of saying like, I don't need to have like 40 bars written up in my, remember we used to have to walk, you used to have to a verse ready, right? Like you might go to the radio station tonight. Yo, we're going to this radio station. We're going to freestyle. When or what was that like for you to kind of just say, everything has to be tailor made?
To be honest with you, man, I think it was like just being in the studio and just maybe, you know, sometimes you got like that favorite verse and it didn't fit on one song and use another one. I think I might have got called out. Someone was like, "Oh, that verse again." I'm like, "Oh, I'm playing myself. Let me not." Like, all right, you know, you just gotta get hit with that. But like, oh, all right, let me. I feel like every, you know, musician and artist, man, if you got people that believe in you and around you, you know, they can call you out a certain way. Just be like, that verse again, huh? Oh, we're gonna finally find a song for that verse. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, and as media has changed with it, it's so
Yeah.
wild that you mentioned that, because I never really thought about that. But now you do a media run and everybody expect a freestyle.
Yeah.
Right. So you almost gotta have you know, if you're going on this media run, you almost gotta have like a verse for every media outlet you're going to.
Yeah. And I remember, man, when I was younger though, man, and I unfortunately don't freestyle like how I used to. But I used to call up the radio station, and what they would do, they would call out the name of something, and I would just rhyme along with it, you know. And that was like when it was, I'd be like, yeah, you know, it'd be like llama, got the llama to you know, and I would just be able to do that all the time. But you're right, now it's just like, yo, you know, I think too, man, what's interesting is you bring that up, the definition of freestyle now, because freestyle just always just mean off the top of the head, you know. Now I guess freestyle is just like maybe a verse nobody has heard before, you know.
Yeah, everybody had, you know, like the people that first started with the freestyle, for them was written, and then once people started doing off the head, then they'd be like, yo, that's a freestyle. And then just kind of like the understanding of it, depending on regionally where you were, then it's like, yo, you're not freestyling, but it's like, nah, I am freestyling. Well, I'm at this is, and then it got kind of crazy like that. But yeah, I think just overall the understanding of it, when you come into this cipher or when you come into the room or radio, whatever style you chose, you're free to use. That's so that's the whatever style you choose. So, but so having like books of rhymes laying around and all of that, that kind of like at some point you had to kind of just say like, I'm going to chef everything up from scratch. And did you make that also determination based on the fact that you're making these songs for other people?
Yeah, I think it comes from that as well too, and also like sounding smoother on tracks, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, just listening to a track, and if you're creating it towards it, it's almost like it's like being a chef for real, you know. You're making the food for the people that are right there. Like, what do you want with this? What do you need? What does this particular meal need? So let me craft it that way. So yeah, like when it came to that, I was like, all right, yeah, I gotta be done with the notebooks, because this isn't gonna happen. It just has to come to this, you know, even though it's a little bit more time consuming, but I feel like it's a lot more, this might sound cheesy, but a lot more love given to the track when I do it that way. And when I'm writing for others and everything as well too, I think it's just like one of those things where it's just like, all right, you came to me, you're paying me to do this, so let me show you what, you know. I'm not going to just give you the whole like, oh, all right, you came here, so I'm gonna give you the $100 verse or the $300 verse or whatever. I'm going to give you everything I got into this, you know.
And then when you're picking the beats, what's the beat picking process like for you to say, this is the one, or not that one, or I'll pass on that one? Or do you have the mentality also on top of that decision making to say that you have an understanding of what you're using it for? So to go to my point, boom, this album, right? Boom.
Shout out to Kwaku again, because he did the cover.
Yes. So this one is dope, man. And on this album, you can see it's like the collage of thoughts and what's going on here, which is so dope. But then on here, I'm on this album as well. And then we got the song Cheers, right? Now, Cheers is totally different from other songs we've done. right? And then you got other songs on here as well. So to get to my point of the beat picking process, are you looking at the overall theme of the album? Is that helping you?
I am, absolutely. It's either the theme of the album or if I get a particular track, depending, if it's something that fits for the artist. So, first of all, it's like, is this for me or not? If it's not, is it for said artist? If so, how can we design it for that particular person or that
Right.
project? And there's, I'm a lot more open to that now as well too, because I've gotten tracks where I've been like, man, I don't know about this, but like, let's try it. I'm a lot more open-minded now. And sometimes those are the tracks. I'm like, wow, this is what y'all wanted, huh? Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I think that's what's been dope about as growing as artists is going like, this ain't me, but this sound like a such and such track. And I think that's part of that. I learned in college, being able to duplicate something or another writer makes you a better writer.
Makes sense.
Right? I guess that I didn't understand it until like, I guess as I got a little older, but it's like, because you're not always going to get a beat for you.
Right.
But now you could write this joint for SZA, or you might write this joint for whoever, and now you're getting a different clientele. So then when you're performing in the booth, is it like punching in? You going straight through? What's the deal with this, man?
I'm going straight through, and it's not because I'm stunting. It's just because I didn't learn the program well enough to learn how to punch. So,
yeah.
I was like, all right, space bar, space bar.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, of course, I know how to punch in now. But it was just like, and I used to do that all the time in the studio. But I like the rhythm of the flow anyway, or the song, because I feel like too, if somebody's listening to it and they're singing along, they're gonna want to be able to sing along to the song.
Right.
And from my days where I was just doing a lot more stuff like rhyming and everything, one of my things I have to do sometimes is take out words,
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh man, there's so many words. And if somebody can't sing along to that, it's like, all right, let me take out this word and make this make more sense, and this one and this one. So I feel like if you can go straight through, you catch the vibe of that take. Because I don't know about you, but there's been times I've been in the studio somewhere, I'm like, yo, we should have went with that take. Let's get it back again. And you're trying to recreate a take, and then all of a sudden, the energy of that song is out the room,
Yeah, it's definitely like you said. Sometimes you can't recreate the take. I mean, with technology now, it's like keep that one, but it's definitely I know coming up, man. I always think about now, and I know it's like a now versus then, but it was a lot more like obstacles for us too coming up. So what I mean by that is now you record, you hit the button, and then it comes out. Years ago for us, if somebody didn't sign you or they canceled meetings on you or had you sitting there for hours or promised you a deal, so we had a lot of that. But in regards to this question here, sometimes it was if you were around maybe a famous producer or somebody that you're trying to impress, they would be like, nah, man, straight through. You can't even punch in the verse, even though nobody might not even be able to tell.
Yeah,
we put through a lot of little boot camps. What do you think about that?
Man, like I worked with Ski a lot, Ski Beats, and it's just like a lot of times you're thinking like, yo, he did like 4 albums with Jay-Z. He did Camp Lowe's joint, so you're just like, yo, hey. Ski look back like, yo, you wildin' kid. Let's do it again. I'm like, all right, my bad,
Yeah, and it's so wild. That's interesting because you're working with Ski, platinum producer multiple times, and just he's been there from the beginning to now. So he has the understanding of type of lyricists, type of beats, flow, everything in the gambit of skills. So when you're standing there and you're vocaling and you're listening to what he says, was it at first kind of like, yo, you just doing that because, and then you had to get over yourself going like,
oh, absolutely, man.
It's
like,
fight,
I remember, bro, it was crazy. Like, at the time I used to, and this shows you the dedication, right? So this was what my schedule used to be. I would get off of work in Richmond. I would drive down to his spot in North Carolina, record. After I finished recording, I would go to sleep under his piano, wake up, go get a Red Bull, and then drive back to work in Richmond. And, and like from where I was in Richmond to where he lived, that was probably like a 4-hour drive. So I'm already tired from doing that. And then, of course, you walk in, you see all the platinum plaques and everything, and you're just like, yo, don't let me mess up, you know? And like you said, at the beginning, you're thinking like, yo, he probably recorded Jay so many times. He had so many times with Camp. There would be times I go to his house and Camp Low would be there working on a project. So you're just like, all right, let me go ahead and get this together, you know? So yeah, it is a little bit unnerving, you know, but this one of those things where, you know, pressure either breaks pipes or makes diamonds, right?
Right. And I think definitely, you know, you've risen from that to be greater. So as far as the writing aspect with the revision process, what's that like for you? Are you once it's done, or you're looking at it meticulously and going over it?
It's got to pass the car test. After I record it, you got to get in the car and you're listening, and I'm like, that word didn't seem like it sat right there, you know. I said, yo, but I should have been like, yo, you know, just even those
Yeah.
details like that. I go all the way through it just to see, like, okay, what could sit better? How could I go better with this? You know, it's just like, does this verse really sound that good? Could I have been better with this? You know, so I have
Right.
that, and I got my dude too, D Smith, who I'll send like, you know, some of the tracks to him, you know. And it's funny, like if he sends me back like a text and was just like, yo, that was just super whack, that means he really liked it. You know, it's like he's not trying to give me no credit on it, but that's how we laugh and joke or whatever. But he'll listen to some things like, man, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. So it's just once again having a team. Or with my dude, I was gonna say Docs, but he goes by, you know, Todd from the Spot now, or whatever, with him when we're working on music together. I'll always send it to him, be like, yo, you know, he'll get those emails from me 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yo, what you think? And he's really good at giving feedback as well too.
Yeah,
I
shout
love
to
working
Doc.
with people.
Shout to
Yeah,
Doc.
shout out to him, man.
He did my first single from Mirror Music Trust.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely somebody you can trust his ear with what it is. Plus, what's dope about Docs, he's very like in tune with what's going on. He knows everything going on, underground, commercial. You ask him about something, he'd be like, oh yeah, that came out on this album. I heard this and that. When we were there at the house, I was like, this guy heard everything. He ain't missed nothing. If I said something, you said something, he was like, oh, that's on this. And the album, he know everything about it. You know what I mean? So shout out to Docs, man.
Absolutely. It's the fact that he has like, you know, so much knowledge on the history. And like one of the things that we do on a daily basis, if I come across like a TikTok or something with somebody talking about a story about a song, I'll see it and I'll send it straight to him. And we'll end up talking about the story of the song and this or that, you know? So that's just always dope having people around you that can do that.
You flowed right into the next question, man. The storytelling aspect, man. As far as when I first started hearing you tell stories, for me, it started more on a relationship vibe.
Right.
I think it was like showing like, and then you know, then it just started evolving into like more like different scenarios, like you know, cheers. And then what's the other joint we got that's like hard?
Oh, the jealousy joint.
Jealousy joint. When you sent me that, I was like, oh, okay. That jealousy joint, crazy. So yeah, but I was able to like check, like that's what I was monitoring, like as far as just like when you were sending me joints, I was like, man, this is what I was saying, like understanding how fearless you was with making joints. Cause I was like, all right, True making these joints, kind of relationship records, and the cheers joint, fun, then the jealousy joint. And I was like, woo, this joint right here is hard right here. It's a whole different realm. So what's that like as far as for you when you're getting these beats, and have you felt like a certain comfort zone of, I like relationship records, I like this vibe versus, you know, jealousy joint is hard body, you know?
Yeah. I think it's just things that I've gone through in life, you know, and I guess, you know, when I was younger and I was dating, you know, it's just like, oh, all right, yo, this situation was crazy or whatever too. And I try to, you know, as I'm crafting the stories, trying to make it feel like a story or a movie as well too, you know, from the colors and the textures of the song and everything. So it went from that, like you said, to the relationship songs to like, you know, just sometimes working at a 9 to 5 and be like, yo, my coworker is getting on my damn nerves, yo. So let me go ahead, you know, I'm gonna break this record about him or whatever, and it turns into this, or just different aspects of it. So yeah, it's a lot of life placed into those songs, you know, a lot of life. And just like, once again, being around all the fellas, talking, if somebody's like, yo, I had this one time that such and such, I'm like, yo, you cool if I write about that, you know, and maybe take it from my standpoint. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then I noticed your storytelling developing as well because of how prolific you were too. You were like, yo, I put this out, I'm putting this out, I'm putting this out, we about to put this out, we about to put that out. So I also that helped me like understand because me and you would talk here and there off and on, but then sometimes we wouldn't talk for a minute and then a project drop. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is what he was doing. You know, yo, that's how it
Yeah, I
was.
mean,
Like,
yeah, that's real. That's real.
yo,
I was locked in.
you were locked in. And then
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're like, yo, this is what I'm working on with this music with this group in California. You was doing stuff in California, different styles and different stuff. So that I just was noticing like you was like leveling up even bar wise to me. I was like, yo, True getting better, got better. Like even this for real, all realms. Like, and then the storytelling aspect of it. When I seen you start taking chances on different storytelling, like the jealousy joint was definitely different than Chairs, different than other songs that were like maybe female oriented. And I was just like, yo, I love seeing the growth of that and seeing you go in that bag. As far as like the new stuff you're working on, have you been thinking about just like, okay, I want to explore more of storytelling this route?
Yeah, absolutely. Like with the new project that we're working on now, it's really groovy. It's a lot of different stories. Some of
Right.
the things that we talk about, or I talk about a lot, is like dealing with anxiety sometimes, you know. So it's funny, once again, you talk about being fearless. Is like sometimes if you
Right.
are someone who has dealt with anxiety or just different things, you got to just be like, there's no way around it. You just got to go through it. And last year was one of the first years I actually took off from music. And I was just like, you know what? I'm always doing this for this person. I'm doing this for that person. I need some me time. I want some time with family. I want some time to just create. I'm always on everybody else's schedule. Because when I wasn't working on music, at a point, I was always working in call centers. And some of the call centers I was working in, it's crazy. Like sometimes as a grown man, you got to hit a button and be like, yo, can I go to the bathroom? You know, I couldn't even go to the bathroom at my own time, you know? So
Right.
last year was like that first time ever was just like, yo, I'm going to do me. I'm going to create and just do whatever I can. And so I say that it comes back to the theme of just kind of like coming out the shadows from just like being away. And like, you
Right.
know, me and Todd, we talk about and be like, okay, this is almost like, you know, somebody has dealt with anxiety here or there. And it's just like, all right, kind of reapproaching the world in a different way, you know? Because I see a lot of songs or I hear a lot of songs when people are just like, you know, kind of down and they're going through what they're going through. But you know me, I like for things to have like a happy ending to it. You know, it's just like you're going to be okay. Yeah, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what the whole Shock the World project is about. Is like, all right, you know what? We're back. We have a little bit of a different sound. It sounds like this or whatever, but everything is going to be cool. We're going to finally do it our way. And it won't just be our way if you're listening to it, whatever you're going through, you know, it'll be okay. Shock the world. Shock the world with who you are. Don't try to be anybody else.
And through these projects and since watching you develop into who you are and trying so much in different things, do you feel like you've kind of found your purpose because of the success you've been having with like the syncing, you know, like the syncs
Yeah.
and putting records out, and now it's like people are recognizing how dope you are? Do you feel like, okay, I got my lane, I know my purpose as the storyteller or the artist?
I think I definitely have. There was a time where we would look at things like, man, why haven't we done anything with a major yet? Because you know, there was a point in time it was like, if you weren't on a major, then like, are you really doing anything? You know? But now it's just like, yo, just taking time to like check out the wins. Like, man, we've sold songs to these studio companies. I've voiceovers for McDonald's, you know, all of these things independently from the crib. And you know, and then that way we were able to make more money off of it. I was able to be myself. I didn't have to be the substitute teacher that, you know, that was trying to sound like Kanye or whatever. We didn't have to do what the
Yeah.
label told us to do. We did things on our own budget. So yeah, I feel like my purpose was always to be independent.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then what would you suggest? What's like some, I guess, tips, maybe like 2 or 3 tips you could give somebody that is trying to create a song for sync licensing?
Oh man, I would say definitely it needs to be as catchy as possible. Read the brief, because with the sync licensing, it always comes with a brief, and in the brief it tells you everything they want. But you can't be disheartened if you don't get the track, because I've worked with some briefs where they said like, "Hey, we want this, this, and this," and I've given that to them, and they've just said, "You know what? That sounds too much like this, and this," and I'm like, "That's what you asked for," but at the same time, you're the person with the budget. You're
Right.
paying, so I can't complain. So it's just, it's hard work like anything else, but just create something that's catchy and just go along with the brief.
Yeah, I think understanding getting a no is understanding how to get a yes a lot of times too.
Right. Right.
That's what I've learned, and just kind of like, because when you first start out as an artist, you hear no or something, you be like, oh man, you know what? I'm just gonna fall back on this. You know what I'm saying? It'll crush you. Now that
Yeah.
we've did it so many times, you're like, oh, it's gonna be some no's, you know what I'm saying? But it's
A
all right.
lot of no's.
It's gonna be a lot of no's. So then throughout the journey too, um, you know, who's influenced you? Like what artists did you grow up listening to and you said this is who I want to sound like? For me, it was Cool G Rap.
Right.
That was, but I never was rhyming. Well, when I first started around, I was rhyming drugs, guns, all the crazy madness G Rap would have, because I was trying to be G Rap and I wasn't
Right.
doing none of that stuff. But
Right.
you try to mimic your favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be Q-Tip, bro. Like Tribe Called
Oh,
Quest, I was out there, like you talk about the chick songs. I was like, I gotta put out a Bonita album. I gotta have electric relaxation. I gotta be able to, it was always like Q-Tip, a Tribe Called Quest. As I got a little bit older, definitely like Camp Low, because they were like so groovy with it, and it's cool too because now I look at them as like friends of big brothers. You know,
yeah.
you're somebody who definitely influenced me too, because I remember here in Richmond for a while we would have like I would host different open mics, and I was just like, yo, I'm gonna have my own lyricist lounge too. This is dope. So man, and to give you your flowers, bro, I hope you realize how many people you've influenced, not just from that, but just from your writings and everything as well
Thanks.
too, man. And just being an overall good dude. And that's what the industry needs more of, just good people, because I tell you what, it's a lot of not good people in this industry.
Industry is it's real crabs in a barrel, like, and
Yeah.
you got to kind of get over that and just kind of realize like, yo, everybody's dope. If you're dope, just do your thing. and
Yeah.
and you realize like, if you just focus on doing your thing, the notoriety will definitely come eventually, man.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you have a creative block?
Man, when I have a creative block, um, fortunately, I feel like it doesn't happen as much as it used to, right? But like
Mhm.
when I do, I will throw on a visual, like a movie or something,
Right.
or I will do something out of my typical lane. Like I'll watch TV with my daughter, and it's something like if she's showing me something that's catchy or whatever, like sometimes that's the spark that's needed as well too. Or going to the gym, love, like I'm definitely picking that back up more. And I feel like, man, when I'm in there lifting weights, or if I go for a run or something, especially going for like a walk, that is just like the best thing in the world to break a creative block.
And then as far as staying motivated, what are you listening to now? So could you maybe give some insight on some of the artists you may have introduced me to when I came out there? Because man, you putting me onto some dope stuff. What different arenas of music or genres could people be checking out?
Yeah, like, and that's funny because that actually came from Ski. When Ski came to the crib one day and he was showing me, and it was a lot of that was, I believe it's called Japanese city pop, and I was going through that, and I was like, yo, this is pretty dope. And then I went into my own wormhole with it, and I like a lot of those artists. I'm like, yo, this is dope. This is dope. So some of the artists, man, like there's one artist called Ginger Root who I've been playing a lot of, and you know how these algorithms are, man. You get
Oh
into
yeah,
one artist, and the algorithm's gonna be like, yo, you gotta listen to this one. You gotta
right.
listen to this one. You gotta listen to this. So it's that definitely soulful indie vibe or whatever. Like I think he calls his music like what he called it like elevator music, which I thought was funny, because it's
Mhm.
like super groovy. So there's a lot of things like that. I'm listening to a lot of Anderson, whatever Anderson's putting out, him and his team. I believe his
Yeah,
artist, his new artist.
I read that in your bio, like that kind of you fall in that lane. You feel like some people suggest that you fall in that lane as far as sonically too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're listening to that, the music pairs well with that. His new artist, Ray Khalil, she's super dope. Anything that's that, rapping and also groovy as well too. That live instrumentation, like those are the things that, Also, Childish Gambino, I've been a fan of his for
Oh
years. I just
yeah,
think I love the way that seems like he's so fearless. Like he
yeah,
just kind of
definitely.
does. Well, yeah, me too. So I love stuff like that, and especially I think another one of my favorites right now is Tyler the Creator. You know,
Oh yeah.
he's taking
I
over the
like
world.
that with Green Lantern. I like that project.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
he rapping like you really don't know. Like he really get busy. Like when he get busy, man. Like if you really, I mean, he's been getting busy with since Odd Future, but like when he got to his own and now he, it's been dope because a lot of the artists that we like and grew up on, or either now current artists, they got that freedom to say, I'm gonna give this commercial album, but I'm about to do this whole album right here, probably with Primo, you know what I'm saying, as well. So they're able to give you the stuff for the masses and then say, you know what, I'm just gonna rock with my boy down the block. We just gonna drop a project. And I
I
love
love
that
that.
about doing the music now too.
Me too.
So what people that may have not heard of you or don't know you, what are three pieces of your work that you suggest they go check it out, that they'll be impressed by, like, okay, I see, what he's
Yeah.
about.
It's a project that just put out recently called Sincerely Yours, James Crockett, produced by my man Fingerprints. I met Fingerprints through Ski. Like this was like during COVID. Ski was just like, yo, you're dope. He's an upcoming producer. He's dope. He said, what y'all need to do is record with your mans, get together and release a project, like how you just said. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
cool. And it's really cool about that because we put that project together. Then he's from NY as well, too. So I went up there and took my daughter up there for the first time. And then our daughter started playing together as well, too. So it was just a dope moment all the way around. So
Right.
that one, of course, this new project that's coming out, the Shock the World situation. I'm really, really curious to see what people are going to think about this because on this one, I'm demonstrating a lot of songwriting, but I'm not always singing it. I have a male vocal and a female vocal on it as well, too. So, it's just like almost like I've created like my own band for people to hear what I'm thinking of how it sounds in my head, And of course, the project World's Fault that you showed was produced by, Ski and had you on there and a lot of others as well, too, So.
And the upcoming EP, the Shock the World, is it an EP because of the different bags you're jumping into on there and you're keeping it short because you want to kind of shock the world with different, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
Yeah,
like an appetizer where I'm going with it.
absolutely. I think the reason why I'm trying to keep things at an EP recently is because I see so many people releasing so many musical projects. I'm like, man, how are y'all doing that?
Right.
And being that I am not like on the level of somebody that's super like popular, it's almost like, all right, let's get this project out. While that's out, let's cook up another one just to kind of, kind of keep people fed. Because one of my knocks, and I realize it, is I have not always been consistent. I will have these ideas and I'm not always executing them. And this is me kind of holding myself to it, like, all right, let's go ahead, put the Shock the World project together, release it, and then let's go into the next one. So that's the reasons why I'm trying to keep things as an EP to kind of just keep it interesting. Be like, oh, okay, this is a cool project. It's a cool project as well, too.
Yeah, I would agree. With me, I was in that vibe mode too, like just being more putting stuff out. So then when I dropped in 2015, New Beginning, I said I'm gonna do something every year. So I've been on that almost that 10 year of something every year. One of the years wasn't music, but I did like a book or something. Like I try to do something, you know what I'm saying? Just to stay consistent because you can see people dropping so much and you be like, damn, but then you gotta get into quantity versus quality too.
Absolutely.
You start
And I'm
wrestling
starting
with
to
it.
see some of these sync companies. I'm realizing now, like they won't accept the music the same way. Like they're actually looking at your social media now as well too. Like I've had deals that did not go through because they were just like, "Yo, why you not posting? What's going on?" I'm like, "You don't worry about if I'm posting. If you like the song, pick the song." But like that's different now as well too. They want to make sure you're posting. They want to make sure you're active as well. So that's one of the things, being consistent and being active. So yeah.
So what's your social media? So everybody can follow you, check the joints out, see what you got happening.
Yeah, yes. It's Coolhand Trew across everything. CoolhandTrew. Coolhand Trew. I tried to keep that, consistent against all platforms, from Instagram, Facebook, Bandcamp. Even if MySpace was up, that's what it would be. But I know ain't nobody using.
And then the EP, they're gonna be able to find it everywhere, or
They're
they
going to be able to.
pre-orders.
What I'm going to do first, we're doing something a little different this time. I'm glad you asked that. It's actually going to be on Bandcamp first. And it'll get to streaming a little bit later. But what I want to start doing is, for like everybody that's following me and that supports me and everything, I feel like you should have the project first. You shouldn't get it at the same time as like everybody else. And because you follow me and you receive my emails and you send me thank yous and you buy my merch, that's what I'm going to do. You get the project first, and you'll see that on Bandcamp first.
Well, Trew, man, I appreciate you, spending your time, man. Time is precious, especially having family and got kids, daughter running around. I got my kid. You know how it is. We know how it is. So,
absolutely. My daughter she was like, yo, you think I can jump on there? I was like, no, just stay upstairs and play today.
Right.
I appreciate you too, bro.
Nah, man, but I'm glad to know you, because all these years, like I said, to see the growth and like being able to witness how much better you've gotten now. Like you're at this level of this, like, I think, being recognized. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about it. Like, you can know somebody for mad long and they can get tired of doing it and just be like, yo, it's a wrap. Like, I've seen you do it and outlast a lot of people that I know that, and you've been way more prolific than a lot of people I know too, that people may consider, these elite artists, but they're not putting out stuff at a rate that you're putting out, and putting out good stuff, not being afraid to try things and putting out records and making a living from it and conquering so many different terrains, man. So I appreciate you, man. Always trying to connect us with other people. Like, you always are trying to do something positive, and that is a big thing, to be around positive people in order for you to remain positive and want to put out stuff. You hit me sometimes and vice versa, and it's like, if you hit me up, it's always a good vibe. Yo, so what you got going on? What's going on? Like, you make me stay accountable. I'm like, man, what do I got going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, so holding me accountable as well. So I really appreciate the hospitality too when I come out there, and everything, man, everything that you do and you've done and you're continuing to do. And everybody go check it out, man. Check Trew out. And just, be inspired by this episode of all the things you can do. If you don't know of him, you can see he's been able to sustain a career through doing the music and put out great music. So I think he's a testament to just, staying the longevity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate you too, bro. You are definitely the bar. You're definitely the bar that a lot of people are trying to get to or elevate to, man. You've shown a lot of us the way, man. So I appreciate you, and what you're creating, the books, everything. Like, and I'll tell you real quick, it's like me and my dudes, we always laugh because, like, at the end of the year, you're saying, like, I hold you accountable. It'd be like, at the end of the year, we'd be like, yo, can we tell Words? We did. Yeah. What we doing next year? Because you're gonna be like, yo, come on, man. So I love that accountability.
And the book, speaking of the book stuff, you're writing a book.
Yes, yes, I'm holding myself finally to it. We've been talking about it for years.
Yeah,
and this is kind of the year I am holding myself accountable more so on so many things. Like alerts, alarms on my phone and everything. I'll see the message like, did you do this yet? Did you do that yet?
Right.
And I think having a child now as well too, I can't tell you to follow your dreams if I'm not following mine. Right.
And I think that's a big thing for them to see it. It's something tangible. They can see it and say, I could do it. So thanks again, man. Everybody out there, make sure you go and follow Trew on Instagram and everywhere else. Like I always say, what are your words worth? Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Yeah, man. Got it done, brother. What up, y'all? Thanks for always watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button. A lot of y'all leave comments, which are dope, and I appreciate that. just go back, double back, hit that like and subscribe so the algorithms can, send this out to everybody else that's into what we into. Peace.